The West does not have enough costly missiles to down Iranian terror drones. Ukraine comes up with a super cheap and efficient solution. A Russian oil refinery and a military airbase in the cities of Saratov and Engels are set ablaze amidst the longest and hardest attacks so far. Ukraine has made it through a toughest and coldest winter of this war, made even darker and colder by Russian terror attacks. Yet, we made it out even stronger. See our reportage. U.S. officials have warned that Iranian-made Shahed-type drones pose a serious challenge and that existing air defenses cannot be relied on to intercept every one of them. The officials were briefing lawmakers in the Congress on the ongoing operation against Iran when they said Shahed-type drones present a serious problem and existing U.S. air defenses cannot be relied on to intercept every drone. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, said Iranian Shahed-type drones have proved a bigger problem than initially expected.
In a closed-door briefing, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Dan Kane explained that Iranian-made Shahed-type drones present a specific challenge because they fly low and slow, making them harder to intercept than ballistic missiles. CNN quoting sources at closed-door Pentagon briefing.
The question that can come to one's mind is, how did Hegseth happen that America did not have any intel on what Iranian drones are, what are their capabilities, and how to counter them? As anyone in the American Congress who did even somewhat analyze Russia's brutal criminal invasion of Ukraine knows the obvious facts.
The Iranians do have the ability to make a lot of Shahed drones, ballistic missiles, medium range, short range, and they've got a huge stockpile. So at some point, this becomes a math problem, and how can we resupply air defense munitions? Where are they going to come from? Mark Kelly, the U.S. Senator.
Luckily, the U.S. has Ukraine as a true and loyal partner. Even so, it did not always work the other way around for us. We are here to help. Kiev has pioneered cheap and mass-produced UAVs to battle Russian versions of the Shahed attack drone. The Pentagon and at least one Gulf government are in talks to buy Ukrainian-made interceptors to fend off attacks by Iranian drones, according to Ukrainian industry figures. Until now, Gulf states had been using extremely expensive Patriot missiles to defend themselves from waves of Iranian Shahed drones in the days since the U.S. and Israel launched their war. But their stocks are declining, and they are looking to Kyiv's experience for multifold cheaper defense against Russian drone barrages. Ukraine has pioneered using mass-produced interceptors costing just a few $1,000s to destroy Russian versions of the Shahed, launched against Ukrainian cities in swarms. Shaheds cost a mere $30,000, while interceptor missiles like the PAC-3s used in the Patriot system cost millions. To put this war math in easy terms for you, every time American PAC-3 Patriot missile that costs an average $5 million is fired, and you need 2 of these missiles to guarantee a down of a Shahed drone, which raises costs to $10 million in one shot. So, every time these $10 million are shot to down a Shahed drone that costs as much as $30,000 USD, Iran wins big. $9,970,000 per one down drone. Ukrainian interceptors cost $2,000 USD each, so $4K to guarantee the success hit. Gain $4K worth Ukrainian drone against $10 million double PAC-3. Make your choice, Mr. Hegseth. The Russian city of Saratov and Engels came under the heaviest attack ever. More than 60 powerful explosions were heard in the course of just 2 hours. According to eyewitnesses, the skies over the cities were lit up by explosions and air defense in action, but targeting could not be completely avoided. A large fire broke out in one of Saratov's districts, where the oil refinery is located. Firefighters were unable to bring it under control for several hours. Also, there was a powerful attack on Engels 2 airbase. As you might know, the city of Engels hosts bases for Russia's bombers that attack Ukraine daily. Strategic 295 MS, well, of those left of the fleet after Ukrainian spiderweb operation. Both cities, Saratov and Engels, were partially left without electricity due to damaged power lines. The British airbase in Cyprus was not targeted from Iran. This was stated by the UK Ministry of Defence after investigation of intel data. UK officials believe a drone that hit an RAF base in Cyprus evaded detection by flying low and slow when it was launched by pro-Iranian militia in Lebanon or western Iraq. UK Ministry of Defense John Healey flew into Cyprus to calm the diplomatic fallout over a compromised air security of the base. The investigation has been unable to establish conclusively where the Shahed-type drone was launched from.
The Ministry of Defense can confirm that a Shahed-like drone, which targeted RAF Akrotiri at midnight on 2nd March, was not launched from Iran. In the last 24 hours, the UK has resupplied air defense systems to British and Allied bases across the region, including UK-built air defense missiles. Royal Navy Wildcat helicopters, armed with Martlet missiles capable of taking out aerial threats, will arrive in Cyprus in the coming days, from the statement of UK Ministry of Defense.
Meanwhile, according to the AP agency, Cyprus reports that this UAV was launched from Lebanon, to be more exact, from Beirut, the country's capital. This was stated by a Cypriot official who spoke on condition of anonymity because, as he said, he wasn't permitted to speak publicly about the details of the attack. This winter has been one of the most grueling for Ukrainian citizens since the full-scale invasion. The combination of extreme biting frosts to -26 on Celsius and Russian terror strikes on Ukraine's energy infrastructure, the most massive ones ever since their invasion started, left people across all regions in cold apartments with no heating and long, sometimes lasting days, power outages. But what did the world know about Ukrainian resilience and our ability to overcome all, even those seemingly unbearable conditions? As the season draws to a close, we look at how Ukraine successfully passed this period of intense cold and remained stable and even more stubborn and resilient than ever before.
Here's how we turn it on. Here's the little burner. Here's the water. Well, you can hold it.
This winter, Natalia learned to brew coffee for herself and her clients using a gas burner. She is a manicurist, lives in northern Saltivka in Kharkiv, and works at a salon near her home. The girl has not left the city since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion. She recalls how in the winters of 2022 and 2023, under the sound of explosions and during blackouts, she took care of her clients' hands.
The city was being shelled. I couldn't get to the salon. I couldn't reach work. And the girls called me themselves. We got into the car and looked for someone who had electricity at home. Everyone came there. I laid out my tools, and we created beauty under the sound of explosions, under fear, still. We worked and found strength in ourselves to remain feminine.
The winter of 2026 became the most difficult for Kharkiv residents. Constant shelling, attacks on energy infrastructure, loss of heating and no water, all this affected Natalia's work schedule and that of her colleagues at the beauty salon. But thanks to mutual support, the team survived the hardships and is now working again and serving clients.
We have a savior in our salon, our Anna, who bought us a generator, and with the generator we already feel much more confident. Well, here I turn on the petrol switch, turn on this speed, then pull it fully and switch to operating mode.
Irina demonstrates how the generator works, which helps her during power outages. She is a hairdresser, so without electricity and water, she cannot work, and losing regular clients is equal to losing income and the ability to support her family.
I tried my best to keep working, using flashlights there, but I had to refuse some clients because it's winter, and going outside with wet hair isn't a good idea. Although some girls agreed, they said, "We'll go home with a hood, because beauty comes first." This is Barkan. People reached out, said he was on abandoned territory where no one was around. He was just sitting on a chain, no food, no water, and there was severe frost. We didn't waste time. We went and took him.
Barkan is just one of dozens of pets that had to be rescued from severe frosts. This winter became a real ordeal for homeless animals. When temperatures dropped below zero, dozens of dogs and cats were freezing on the streets. Most of them were in critical condition, with hypothermia, emaciated and frightened.
During the winter cold, we took in about 30 dogs and 25 cats that were outside in the cold. They had hypothermia, so we urgently took them in, placed them in quarantine with us, immediately provided heating pads, set up warm boxes, and only then the veterinarian examined them.
The Lviv House of Rescued Animals says there were far more calls than last year. Residents called, sometimes even the police brought animals. And this is an Odessa coffee shop that became a kind of point of invincibility for many city residents this winter. The city experienced the heaviest blackouts. Sometimes there was no electricity in Odessa homes for several days. Power outages continue in Odessa to this day. Many homes receive electricity only 3 hours a day.
We provided people with a place where they can charge up, and on Rydužny, there was a complete disaster with electricity. No light for 4 days. They don't even have gas stoves. They can't even cook. Here people come to eat and charge too. I can really say that we are a point of invincibility.
Entrepreneurs Yulia and Evgeny opened this coffee shop about 2 years ago. A year and a half later, they launched another location in a large residential area of the suburbs. However, the place turned out to be unprofitable, and due to constant power outages, a lot of money went to running the generator. However, despite all the difficulties, Evgeny and Yulia do not plan to close their business.
We've already sat it out and realized that we need to boost the economy, be with our country. We need to help people too.
People also need support. They need a place where they're given warmth, basic needs, food, electricity. I love this place. I've put my whole soul into it.
This winter was also difficult for Dnipro. However, despite all the hardships, classes in the city's schools were never interrupted for a single day. Lessons were held in classrooms despite daily blackouts. And to ensure a full and uninterrupted learning process, 127 schools were equipped with solar power stations even before the new year.
This includes the fire alarm system, working lighting, communication, internet. And all this thanks to alternative power supply. Because emergency lighting lasts up to 2 hours, anything longer is an alternative source.
That is why school shelters also operated as points of invincibility, where, if necessary, people could charge their devices and warm up if they needed it.
We have technical water, toilets, and wash basins are working, because alternative sources provide even that. And if it was cold, the temperature here never dropped below 16 degrees. Now it's 18.
Russians wanted to destroy Ukraine and Ukrainians this winter, stated President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine, but the country withstood. Over the past winter, the defense forces repelled the maximum number of massive strikes from dozens of missiles and hundreds of strike drones. And utility services have already begun preparations for the new season. Reported by Natalia Husak, Natalia Belokudria, Ksenia Satinska, and Yulia Bil, UATV News.
That was the News Digest. Follow the facts, stay informed, and join us again for the stories that matter.